Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Guerilla Sports Daily. Today's episode is brought to you by American Trusted Mortgage. American Trusted wants to save you money on your home loan and possibly lower that interest rate. So go to trustedamerican.com and see how much money they can save you today.
Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Guerilla Sports Daily, to the greatest morning show in Colorado. That's right. We are self-proclaiming it right now. We've taken the title. No one else can take it. I'm sorry. What's up, everybody? My name is Ruben Villalobos. Thanks so much for joining us today. We got a couple things to talk about. We got some Nuggets, bad loss yesterday. We got some Avs in action tonight, and I'm gonna do my Broncos season recap of what it was and how we're feeling about all that. And then we also got talking a little bit about Buffs men's basketball team, and then also a little bit of Liga MX for all those soccer fans. Well, let's start it off with some Nuggets action. Oh my goodness, as good as the Nuggets have been looking lately, yesterday they were without Nikola Jokic and suffered a home loss to the Houston Rockets, 128-108. And this is like the first loss that the Nuggets have suffered on a second night of a back-to-back, which is they were undefeated up until that point, and then yesterday they got back home after playing Dallas. They blew out the Dallas Mavericks, and they come back home, got to play the Rockets, number 2 team in the league. And during warm-ups, something happens to Nikola Jokic. So no Nikola Jokic yesterday, no Aaron Gordon as well, who's still dealing with a right calf injury or nursing that right calf injury. But something happened with Nikola Jokic yesterday during warmups. Something happened with his right elbows. Some discomfort started happening to him. And so no Nikola Jokic for the night. And so it almost felt like a scheduled loss yesterday. It was just a depleted Nuggets team having to go up against the number 2 team in the West. And I don't know. I don't like how the NBA sets up these back-to-backs. 17 games on the schedule for January for the Nuggets. That's a ton of games in January for a team that's trying to like get themselves going. But I guess maybe the condensed schedule giving them some sort of rhythm. The Nuggets seem to be looking a lot better than they were usually as of late. But man, the non-Jokic minutes really suffered all night yesterday. I mean, it was a little tight in the first quarter. Second quarter is when the Nuggets, the Rockets just got 20-point lead, and they just didn't look back after that. And it was just hard for this Nuggets team to just get back into the game. They just looked awfully tired. I think the only highlight of the night was a Christian Brown dunk, which was ridiculous. But at that point, they were already down 20, and they just couldn't get any sort of momentum. Jamal Murray finishes with 22 points. Christian Brown finishes with 22, and then Westbrook finishes with 17. But the worst part about all of this is like every starter was a negative yesterday. Everyone finished negative 15 or worse on the plus minus. And it's just not a good night for the Nuggets yesterday. Absolutely not. But, you know, we caught up with Michael Malone yesterday, and he had, some words to say about what happened yesterday and just kind of like his overall thought of the game. Let's see what he had to say.
And when you're without your starting power forward and center against a team that sits number 2 in the Western Conference, you got to play damn near perfect. And we were definitely far from that tonight. So not only a disappointing outcome, but just a disappointing night overall. Give them credit. But we got to get on that plane tomorrow morning and go play in Miami and find a way to, 1, get healthy, and 2, to stop beating ourselves.
What happened with Nikola warming up that led to him not being able to play?
He hurt his elbow.
He had a sleeve on warming up, but was there anything discomfort-wise that he had going into that, or was it just...
No, it was just something that popped up last minute.
And then severity-wise, is it just kind of precautionary?
I haven't talked to the training staff yet, so I'll have a conversation with Steve Short and kind of see where we're at with that.
I think the most frustrating thing about Nikola Jokic's elbow getting hurt is that if you're a Nuggets fan, you watch these games very closely. And whenever you see Nikola Jokic on the block, on the post up, and then all of a sudden you see like a close up of him, you see his arms completely torn up to shreds, scratches. And I mean, I can understand why Nikola Jokic does not get a favorable whistle, but I think some of this stems from him just getting completely beat up. I get he's a big center. I get he's a big dude, but come on, you for a league that loves to protect their players, they certainly are not protecting Nikola Jokic, and this is definitely something to do with Nikola Jokic not getting the fair calls and just him completely getting beat up. He's a tough guy, but at the same time, you got to protect the players, and the NBA does a horrible job of protecting Nikola Jokic. Jamal Murray finishes with 22 points, like I said before, and we also caught up with him yesterday. Let's see what he had to say.
It's just tough, you know. Second night of back-to-back, we've been so resilient all season, but just didn't get it done today. You know, it didn't, like I said, from the jump, we didn't, or they didn't feel us from the jump. You know, so they got comfortable. Guys started to get a rhythm. Guys off the bench started to get a rhythm for them too. And like I said, it's just we didn't too many turnovers. We just gave them everything they wanted. They beat us, but we definitely helped them out. So it was just a tough one tonight. You know, just a tough one.
Yeah, you know, it's hard to win in this league. It's hard enough to win in the NBA, but it's even harder whenever you're turning the ball over 20 times. The Nuggets turned the ball over 20 times, and the Rockets scored 34 points off of those turnovers. I mean, I don't care who's out there. I don't care like if it's a back-to-back. First of all, you got to defend home court. Like the Nuggets are already 12-8 at home. They've already matched last year's home losses, and we're not even halfway through the season. There's a comment in here that said Murray and Westbrook had 10 turnovers combined. That's wild. Yeah, you're not going to win any game if that's that way. If you're going to be playing like that, and the turnovers have been a problem for the Nuggets this season, and it continues to be a problem. But I want to talk about the Rockets a little bit because Jalen Green scores 34. He kind of went off yesterday. Alperen Şengün added 20. 9 rebounds, 8 assists, a little baby Jokic out there, and he didn't really have to do much because they just once the Rockets got a lead, their defense just kind of carried them throughout the entire game. And now Houston won. I think this is their 5th in a row. They're 10-3, second in the West, and they're looking great. I like this Rockets team. I like the way they play. They don't shoot a lot of threes. But boy, do they attack you. They attack you off the dribble. They attack you like off ball. Like they are relentless on offense, and they just kept attacking the Nuggets, and the Nuggets had no answer all night. And their defensive effort has just been lackadaisical when it comes to like allowing easy drives to the basket. It's been the Nuggets' issue all season, and the Rockets saw an opportunity. They're like, hey, no Nikola Jokic tonight. Let's attack him. They won't be able to stop us. And sure enough, the Rockets just completely took control of that game and just didn't look back afterwards. But hey, you know what? It's a schedule loss. Whatever. It hurts more because it's a home loss, and you know, for being a team that prides themselves on mile high altitude and having the best home court advantage, it certainly isn't looking that way this year. But hey, next game for the Nuggets is Friday at Miami. Hopefully they can turn a little bit things around, and we'll keep an eye out for Nikola Jokic's injury, because if it's kind of severe, he might have to miss a little bit more time. And then now you're going to have to continue those non-Jokic games. I mean, they didn't look too bad a couple nights ago, but it is a concern if the best player in the world is not playing, on a bit of a crucial stretch here. But anyways, hey, that's life in the NBA sometimes, especially on nights on a back-to-back, and especially if you're missing the best player in the world. Let's move on to some Colorado Buffaloes and second to basketball. The men's basketball team for the Buffs, bit of a fluky start, would you say? I mean, the Buffs started out 9-2. They were looking great up until recently. Once the Big 12 competition started, you know what happened to the Buffs? They lost 5 in a row, all against Big 12 opponents. And boy, it's yeah. When you switch conferences, it's great for the football team. Oh, great, new competition, all this and that. But when it comes to the rest of the athletic departments, they're going to suffer. And the Buffs are, unfortunately, in that realm of like, hey, we were great in the Pac-12. Last year, we were in the tournament. We got a couple wins in the tournament. But a lot of that stemmed from being in a weaker conference in the Pac-12. And now they're in the Big 12. Lots different competition. And they've had some really unfortunate losses. Their most recent loss was a 68-62 loss versus Cincinnati here at home. And now they're riding a 5-game losing streak. Now they got to go to Oklahoma State. That's going to be a tough one. It's a tough environment. It's a Big 12 opponent. And I don't think it's going to get any easier for the Buffs. This is going to be a rough year for the Buffs, for their basketball team, because one, it didn't seem like they had any like high talent recruits, and I'm not saying like the team is bad in any way, sort of form, but I just think they're not ready for Big 12 competition. And hey, Coach Tad Boyle, I mean, he's got his work cut out for him, and he needs to make some adjustment and keep this team motivated because, like I said before, the level of competition is a little bit higher than what your talent level of what you currently have on your roster right now. And nothing to take away against, those young men. They're talented players, but when it comes to the Big 12, I just don't think they're going to be good this year unless they kind of turn it around, right? This is a big opportunity to get their first conference win against Oklahoma State. But I just don't see the Buffs doing any sort of noise or even making it close to any sort of like consideration for the NCAA tournament, just based on how this 5-game losing streak is going. So, hey, I mean, we've seen some crazier stuff in NCAA basketball, and we're going to keep our hopes up for the Buffs, but it just does not look good for the Buffs so far. Well, go Buffs, I guess. Right, Chloe? Right, Chloe? Yeah. Yeah, she loves her Buffs. All right, well, let's move on to a little bit of Avalanche. They host the Edmonton Oilers tonight. And despite their win versus the Rangers a couple nights ago, they had a comeback win. And they ended up winning 3-2 in overtime. But Jared Bednar was not happy at all. Just the overall effort, and just it seemed like we lost the game. Chloe, play the clip. It's hilarious.
So the opposite.
Hey, we'll take the points, but yeah, unimpressive.
Just from your perspective, what is it about that game? Is it just a lack of effort from your guys? Is it...
I mean, ultimately, it's like we only had half a team playing. That's it. Sums up everything.
Is there a positive in what Blackwood was able to do in terms of maybe carrying the team at times when the offense wasn't?
Fantastic. He was fantastic. He's the best player on the ice, either team. Yeah, and we had a couple others. I thought OC was outstanding. We had some guys that had to have monster efforts just to stay in the game. Blackwood was one of them.
He straight up said, unimpressive. Unimpressive. Doesn't it sound like they lost the game? Like if you didn't know the score and you saw this, you're like, oh boy, the Avs had a bad loss against the Rangers. But you kind of have to know where Jared Bednar's coming from, because he knows the full capacity of this team and how great they can be. And right now it's crunch time. Like it's that time of the season where you really have to start honing in on who you are as a team and where you want to be as a team and where you want to go as a team. Listen, Mackenzie Blackwood was amazing against the Rangers. I mean, only giving up 2 goals on 29 shots, that's ridiculously impressive. But I see where Jared Bednar is coming from, where the Avs cannot get into these 2-0 holes or 1-0 holes early. Like they cannot afford that defensively. One, because the Avs just don't play that type of style where they'll grind it out. They're an offensive power team. Like they're a juggernaut when it comes to offensive. And so you see where Bednar's coming from of like, hey, we need to be better collectively. We can't have half the guys going all out and then the other half we just like, oh, whatever. Like It's almost like he's saying like there's players that don't care, and that's a kind of a bold understatement. But we kind of look at these. We're kind of lucky. We look at these wins and we're like, we can get better, and that's the scary thing about the Avs. Now they're kind of right there in the Western Conference. They're getting better at the right time, and if they continue to improve and they continue to rack up wins, especially against these next 4 opponents. Let's see. They play Edmonton, Dallas, Minnesota, Winnipeg. 4 teams here at home, and the 4 teams that you're looking up at the standings. Right now, the Avs are right behind them in the standings, and this is a great opportunity for the Avs to kind of make up some ground, not only points-wise, but also, you get to see yourself like, how do we stack up against these other teams who we're trying to chase? And so if there's a winning streak to be had, it's this home stretch. And this is such an important home stretch. Again, you play Edmonton, Dallas, Minnesota, Winnipeg. Those are 4 really tough teams. And if you can get 3 out of those 4, the next 4, I think the Avs are going to be in great position moving forward. But also, it's going to give you a nice scope of just mentally, where are the Avs? Where do they stack up against the upper echelon teams in the Western Conference? So I don't know. Chloe, give me a thumbs up because they play tonight. They play tonight, right? Chloe, show yourself. Give me a thumbs up if. Give me a thumbs up if the Avs are gonna win tonight. Big thumbs up. I can't see you. Use your right hand. There we go. Bam. So give me so my score for tonight is 2-1. Give me a thumbs up if that's what you think is gonna happen. No? What's your score prediction? 3-2. That's pretty fair. All right, that's pretty fair. All right. Thanks, Chloe. She's a big Avs fan, and I always be asking her for like advice. I'm like, what's going on with the Avs? Because I don't really. I mean, I watch the games, but not as much as Chloe. She's really into it. But no, my score prediction for tonight, because the Avs play Oilers, and the Oilers are pretty good. But this is going to have to be one of those a little bit of a defensive, grinded out game. So I think tonight the Avs win 2-1. And it's going to be, there's going to be like a crazy score in the third period that just seals it for the Avs. That's going to be my prediction. So yeah, 2-1, Avs win it tonight. You heard it here first. Well, let's go Avs. Moving on to some Broncos. Oh boy, we've all had some time to think about all this, and granted, the loss against the Bills, it sucks. It absolutely sucks. But you know what? I'm so damn proud of this Broncos team. After the loss, I took to Twitter to see what people were saying, and granted, people were started throwing out all these numbers and how the Broncos were frauds and they should have been in the playoffs, and the Cincinnati Bengals should have been in it. It would have been more entertaining. But you know what? I don't care about all that. I don't care about all that at all. Because you know what? The Broncos are building something. And we finally saw the first step to move into the pretty good, level, right? Like right now the Broncos they're good, but they're not great. If we can move into the great echelon, closer to the elite, I think the Broncos are going to be a perennial playoff team. But the Broncos are kind of where the Bills were, right? 5-6 seasons ago when they first got Josh Allen, young team, they're building their culture, first-year head coach, and now it's like, now we can expect a little bit more from this Broncos because again, they overexceeded this year, and you have to be super happy if you're a Broncos fan because even after the loss, even after when the clock hit 0, I wasn't like incredibly mad or super sad because in a weird way, I was like, this is a great thing for the Broncos for it to happen to them because nothing helps you better than a playoff game. And nothing can replicate a playoff game. Nothing can replicate the playoff atmosphere. So for a young quarterback, particularly in Bo Nix, this is a great learning experience for him to hey, this is what it is. This is what I learned from it. This is my mistakes. And for you to get your first playoff experience in your first year, that is crucial for the next coming years. especially if you're going to be a contending team moving on forward, which is what the expectation has always been for the Broncos. If not particularly the last 10 years because we haven't had a quarterback, but now that you do, that's the expectation, right? Like now it's like you got to have to move into that upper echelon status of one, your roster has to be better. So you want to move up to that upper echelon. This offseason is going to be incredibly crucial to not only getting free agents, but your drafts and maybe finding those diamond in the roughs where it comes to like unsigned free agents or undrafted players. So as bad as the Broncos looked against, elite teams this season, a lot of that stems from one, your cap hit just absolutely destroyed any possibility of you signing other players or just, shifting your roster entirely. But you saw that discrepancy of talent, particularly against the Bills. You saw the Broncos defense going up against, particularly the Broncos defensive line going up against the O-line of the Bills. The Broncos looked much smaller and they got pushed around. And they didn't just get pushed around against the Bills. They got pushed around in the run game the previous 3 games leading up to the Bills game. So the Broncos have a lot of work to do this offseason, and they're really going to have to do it as a collective of like owner, GM, coach. And the great thing about where the Broncos are now is like now they have the 4 pillars of being able to build the team. You got your owner, which we didn't have for quite a long time. You got a great GM who's been doing some pretty good work. You have I would say a really good head coach now in Sean Payton, and now you have the quarterback that you've been seeking. So with those 4 in place, now you can actually start building something to get you to where you want to be. And this offseason is going to be incredibly interesting, and it's going to really determine where the Broncos are going to put themselves in the future. For one, the Broncos absolutely need more offensive weapons. You need more running backs because there was no run game whatsoever. The run game didn't improve at all throughout the season. And in fact, there was times where they got worse game to game. So more offensive weapons, get yourself a running game. And also that run defense needs to improve because my goodness, the Broncos were built for speed, and now the defense has to kind of figure out like, all right, do we want to stick to being a quick, fast defense, or do we want to balance it out a little bit so we don't get continuously gashed up the middle when teams decide to run on us? So again, you can't complain too much about this year because one, yes, the cap hit from the Russell Wilson contract really kind of hindered you a little bit, but the fact that they were able to do so much with so little is very promising once you get a little bit more reinforcements and you get a little bit more help on both sides of the ball. So I like where this team is heading. Yes, granted, it was disappointing, not being able to win against, upper echelon teams like the Ravens, obviously against the Bengals. You lost to the Chargers twice. So yes, it is disappointing. But again, you overexceeded. And you got to be so proud of where this team is right now. And if you're a Broncos fan, there's so much more hope now than 2 years ago whenever we got Russell Wilson. Even when we got Russell Wilson, I was like, I don't know about this. But now it seems like something special is brewing. And now we can't wait for next season because it's going to be incredibly, incredibly fun to watch and just see the maturity of this young team just mold themselves into something great. So that's my take on the Broncos for this season. So I hope the Broncos, I hope the Broncos are next, right? Because even next year, I don't think it's going to be our year next year. I think there's still a rebuilding process. Maybe in 4 years, we're going to be looking back at this first playoff loss and be like, hey, remember when we lost to the Bills? Look at us now in the AFC Championship. But it's all in time, and I think Broncos fans need to be patient. We've been incredibly patient for the last 10 years, but I think now you really have to, because you have to basically follow the plan of whatever the Broncos organization is trying to do. So be a little patient, Broncos fans, because great things are coming. Let's go Broncos. Uh, I do want to talk a little bit about the NFL matchups this coming weekend, but mostly particularly, I just want to say I hope that the Lions and Bills kind of make it to the Super Bowl, because that will be the greatest storyline. Two franchises that haven't won a Super Bowl ever. And one of them is going to have the biggest heartbreak of all time. The Bills have been to multiple Super Bowls, but never won any. And the Lions they were the Lions. So I think that would make for such an incredible Super Bowl. I don't know, chat, tell me if you have a different Super Bowl prediction, tell me. But I think it's going to be a Lions Bills Super Bowl. I think everyone kind of wants that because we're tired of Kansas City. We're so tired of Kansas City going to the Super Bowl. And I just don't see any other NFC team other than the Lions that just would make for a great story. And of course, sports are all about great stories, and I think the Lions and Bills would make for a fantastic Super Bowl. So I don't know, and I think the Lions win it. I think the Lions win it this year. Absolutely, why not? I think it would be a fantastic story for the Lions to win their Super Bowl. Anyways, moving on from football. And moving on to football, to a little bit of Liga MX. The second part of the season starts tonight. The defending champions, Club America, is taking on Tijuana, the Cholos of Tijuana. So if you need your soccer fix, because MLS doesn't start until like the end of February, which I get it. There's a lot of North American teams, that particularly play outside and they just have bad weather. So you can't play soccer in bad weather. But hey, if you need your soccer fix, the second part of the Liga MX season starts tonight. So get your soccer fix. It's going to be a fun one. And again, the defending champions are looking to get their fourth title in a row. They just won their third one, which has never been done. And so they kick off this year's season, and good luck to everybody in Liga MX. But before, so that's it for sports. But before I go, news is coming out tonight that beloved Brewers broadcaster Bob Uecker, also known as Mr. Baseball, dies at 90 years old. Oh my goodness, homie lived a good life. Let me tell you. Yeah, apparently he was the voice of his hometown Milwaukee Brewers. And rest in peace. And I'm sure his family are reeling right now, but he seems to have had a really good life, and it's just a legend gone, but you know what? He's in a better place today, and our condolences to the family and anyone associated in that Brewers organization, and anyone who was touched, on a spiritual level, because it seems like he was an awesome person. And so, rest in peace, Bob Uecker, and we wish his family the best in this hard time. All right, well, that's going to do it for us here at Guerilla Sports Daily. My name is Ruben Villalobos. I got Chloe, the Gen Z master, back there. And thanks so much for joining me, everybody. And also, thanks for our sponsor, Trusted American Mortgage. Thanks so much for sponsoring today's show. Have an awesome day, everybody. See ya.